Here is what we know. On the night of January 31st, 2026, at approximately 9:50 p.m., an 84-year-old woman walked through the front door of her home in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood just outside Tucson, Arizona. Her son-in-law watched from the driveway until the garage door closed behind her. That garage door closing is the last confirmed moment anyone can place Nancy Guthrie safely inside her own house. More than 40 days later, she has not been seen again. There is blood on her porch, a masked and armed man on her doorbell camera, and over $1.2 million in active rewards for information. No arrest, no confirmed suspect, no Nancy. Today we break down every verified piece of evidence in this case, every official twist, and the one forensic play investigators are now making that could crack this open. Stay to the end. The final evidence chain is the part the press conferences have not fully explained, because the man on that footage did not come just once. He came before. And that single detail changes the entire picture of what this is. Nancy Ellen Long was born on January 27, 1942 in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She moved to Arizona in the early 1970s with her family and has lived in the Tucson area for more than 5 decades. She is the mother of 3 children. Savannah Guthrie, the NBC Today Show co-anchor, Annie Guthrie, a poet and author, and Cameron Guthrie. At age 84, Nancy lives alone. She has limited mobility and requires daily medication for a chronic condition. Pima County authorities would later formally classify her as a vulnerable adult, not because of any cognitive impairment. Investigators were clear she had none, but because of her age, her physical limitations, and her dependence on that medication. She was mentally sharp. She was active. She was a regular churchgoer who showed up every Sunday without fail. There was nothing unusual about the evening of January 31st. Nothing at all. That evening, Nancy took an Uber to the Tucson home she shared with her daughter Annie and Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, a 50-year-old Italian musician. It was a family dinner. Routine, normal, the kind of evening that would not earn a second mention in any context other than this one. After dinner, Cioni drove Nancy home, roughly a 10-minute trip. According to the Pima County Sheriff's Department's official timeline, Cioni dropped Nancy off at approximately 9:48 to 9:50 p.m. He did not simply leave. Sheriff Chris Nanos has confirmed that Cioni waited in the driveway and watched to make sure his mother-in-law got inside safely. That garage door closed 2 minutes after the drop-off, at 9:50 p.m. That is the last confirmed sign she was safe inside. Then it goes quiet for more than 4 hours. At 2:12 a.m. on February 1st, the camera software connected to Nancy's Google Nest doorbell detected motion near the front door of her home. Here is the problem. There is no video of that moment. Nancy Guthrie did not have a cloud storage subscription for her Nest camera. The camera saw something. It registered movement. It logged a detection event at 2:12 a.m. and it saved nothing. That gap, from the garage door closing at 9:50 p.m. to the camera ping at 2:12 a.m., is 4 hours and 22 minutes. Authorities have not said what happened inside that house during those hours. No one who was there has spoken publicly about what they found in terms of interior disturbance. What they found at the front entrance is documented. But that window between 9:50 p.m. and 2:12 a.m. remains almost entirely dark. Sunday morning, February 1st, Nancy Guthrie did not appear for her scheduled church service live stream. That absence was enough. A member of her church noticed immediately and contacted the family. At approximately 11 a.m., relatives went to her home in the Catalina Foothills to check on her. They searched the house and the surrounding property. No Nancy. What they found instead was the front entrance of her home and blood. Investigators confirmed that blood stains were present at or near the entrance of her residence. Forensic testing would later determine that the DNA from that blood belonged to Nancy. Media footage taken at the scene appeared to show a visible trail of blood near the front door. That detail does not soften with time. The blood is confirmed as hers. The same day, February 1st, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos opened the case, first as a missing persons report, and then rapidly upgraded it to a criminal kidnapping investigation. The FBI was brought in immediately. Nanos stated publicly that he believed Nancy had been abducted. This is not wait and see. This is day one, and the word being used is abduction. Multi-agency response followed. Pima County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and search and rescue teams were all mobilized. The scene at Nancy's home was classified as a crime scene. Forensic teams went in. Neighborhood canvassing began. Surveillance footage from the surrounding area was requested. By February 3rd, Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Cioni were spotted for the first time since the incident, leaving their Tucson home in a dark Honda SUV. Their faces were partially obscured. It was the first public sighting of the couple. Then, on February 4th, the investigation took its first major public twist. Independent journalist Ashley Banfield, a former News Nation anchor, reported that a law enforcement source she described as highly regarded had pointed her to Tommaso Cioni as a possible suspect in the kidnapping. Banfield reported that investigators had towed Annie's car, noting it had some connection to Cioni, and added that all the cameras at Nancy's Tucson home had been damaged. Sheriff Nanos responded the same day. His statement was direct. At this point, investigators have not identified a suspect or person of interest in this case. That was the official line. Cioni's name was out in public. The sheriff had knocked it down. The story did not stop there. On February 5th, a press conference announced a federal arrest, but not the arrest anyone was looking for. FBI Special Agent Heath Janke said that a California man named Derek Colella had been arrested on federal charges for allegedly sending fake ransom texts, impersonating Nancy Guthrie's abductor, and attempting to profit from her disappearance. Colella was released on a $20,000 bond and did not enter a plea. Janke described the suspect as someone trying to profit from it, a total imposter. That same evening, TMZ founder Harvey Levin said he had received 2 alleged ransom notes connected to the case. The notes reportedly demanded cryptocurrency, said Nancy was alive and scared, and stated that there would be no further communication. Levin added that he and his staff were unsure whether the letters were valid. The Pima County Sheriff's Department acknowledged the ransom note reports and confirmed all materials were being forwarded to detectives working with the FBI. The agency did not confirm the notes were authentic. 2 ransom deadlines would pass by February 9th. The FBI said the separate detailed ransom letter shared with TMZ was taken extremely seriously, while the Guthrie family was still waiting for communication. 1 fake arrest, 2 unverified notes. The real abductor still had not made a verifiable, confirmed move. On February 7th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed that a search warrant had been executed at Annie Guthrie's Arizona property as part of the normal course of the investigation. That search lasted approximately 2.5 hours. The same day, Savannah Guthrie posted a video to her Instagram account. She appeared alongside her siblings Annie and Cameron. She looked directly into the camera and said she and her siblings had received the message and understood. She begged, "Please, return our mother to us." Authorities have not explained publicly what message the family was responding to, whether it was the ransom note to TMZ, the separate letter, or something else entirely. The family's home had just been searched. Their words suggested some form of contact had been received. Neither piece of that picture was officially explained. 3 days later, everything changed again. On February 10th, the FBI released surveillance footage and images recovered from Nancy Guthrie's Google Nest doorbell camera. It was the only camera at the property from which Google was able to retrieve any usable data. The footage showed an individual at Nancy's front door apparently tinkering with the camera. The person was wearing a ski mask, a jacket, gloves, and carrying a black backpack with reflective straps. A firearm was visible, holstered at the center of the waist, a position the FBI and CNN both noted as unusual. The agency identified this individual as the suspect in the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. But here is where the footage introduced a new layer that most coverage underplayed. Two separate images were released. In the first, the suspect is wearing the backpack and has the gun holster visible. In the second image, neither the backpack nor the gun holster is present. CNN confirmed, citing a source with knowledge of the investigation, that the second image was taken on a different day, a separate visit that occurred before the night of the abduction. The FBI and CNN reporting made clear investigators believe the suspect may have visited Nancy Guthrie's home on multiple occasions. The video request issued by the Sheriff's Department asked for footage from a 2-mile radius around her residence going all the way back to January 1st, a full month before she disappeared. He came before. This was not impulsive. He came to that door, looked at the camera, and left. And then he came back. Also on February 10th, in Rio Rico, just outside Tucson, a man was detained for questioning. A woman who identified herself to journalists as Josefina Maddox said her son-in-law had been taken in. His work van, parked outside his home, had a placard in the windshield indicating it had been searched. The man was released after a few hours. No arrest was made. No charges were filed. Detained, searched, released. The trail went cold again. On February 12th, FBI Phoenix increased the reward from $50,000 to $100,000 for information leading to the location of Nancy Guthrie and the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. The following day, the anonymous tip line operated through 88 Crime received a donation of $100,000, bringing its total reward to $102,500. The investigation was drawing resources, public attention, and money. What it had not drawn was a confirmed suspect. One of the most significant forensic developments in this case is also one of the quietest. Investigators recovered a pair of black gloves found near a roadside close to Nancy Guthrie's home. The gloves were submitted for analysis. DNA was recovered from them. That DNA was run through CODIS, the National Combined DNA Index System, the federal database holding profiles from convicted offenders and crime scene evidence. No match came back. That is a wall, but it is not the end of the road. Following the CODIS dead end, investigators confirmed that genetic genealogy methodology is now being applied to the DNA evidence. This is the same technique that identified the Golden State Killer, Joseph James DeAngelo, after decades of cold case pursuit. It is the same approach that helped investigators identify Brian Kohberger in the University of Idaho student murders. The premise is specific. Even if the suspect has never personally submitted a DNA sample to any database, a biological relative may have, through a consumer service like Ancestry or 23andMe. That relative's profile becomes a thread investigators can pull. The question this raises is simple and unanswered. Has a family member of whoever left DNA on those gloves ever used a consumer DNA kit? Authorities have not said. No match has been publicly confirmed. On February 16th, Sheriff Nanos issued a formal written statement that addressed the Sione speculation head-on. To be clear, he wrote, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious, and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. He added, the Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. The clearance was official, documented, and unambiguous. 2 days later, on February 18th, search warrants were served on an unnamed mother and her son. Both were detained while the warrants were executed. Attorney Chris Scalepi confirmed to Arizona's family that his clients had been held and then released with no arrest made. He stated the son had no link whatsoever to Nancy Guthrie and no information related to the kidnapping. Again, they were detained, searched, and released. 2 more people in the frame, and then out of it. On February 24th, Savannah Guthrie, Annie, and Cameron announced a $1 million reward for information leading to the return of their mother, dead or alive. Combined with the FBI's $100,000 and the 88 crime tip pool, total active rewards now exceeded $1.2 million. The same day, Sheriff Nanos appeared on the Today Show and confirmed something significant about the doorbell camera footage. The images released by the FBI had no embedded dates or timestamps. Any conclusions about exactly when those images were taken, he said, were speculative. That detail matters. The precise timeline of the suspect's visits, how many times and on which specific dates, is not established in the public record. By March 10th, Annie and Cameron Guthrie were briefly spotted at their mother's Catalina Foothills property. They arrived separately, spent a short time there, and drove away in different vehicles. One of Nancy Guthrie's own vehicles was also moved during that visit. No official explanation was given for the purpose of the visit. It was not described as part of the formal investigation. On March 11th, Parade confirmed that the blue Honda CR-V associated with Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Cioni had still not been returned to the family. It remained in Pima County Sheriff's custody at an auto mechanic's shop, still being, in the words of a sheriff's spokesperson, put back together following the exhaustive search it had been subjected to. The car was one of the last places Nancy Guthrie had been before her disappearance, riding home with Cioni on the night of January 31st. No return date has been provided. Authorities have not said what, if anything, the examination of that vehicle produced. Meanwhile, the harassment generated by online speculation hit Dominic Evans, an elementary school teacher in Tucson, bandmate of Cioni in the group Early Black, who bore enough of a physical resemblance to the doorbell suspect to become the target of a sustained public identification campaign. He spoke to the New York Times. He said, "I feel like someone's taken my name." He was not charged with anything. He was not named by any official agency. He was caught in the geometry of proximity and social media's need for an answer. As of March 13th, 2026, Nancy Guthrie's condition and whereabouts remain officially unknown. No arrests have been made. No suspects have been publicly named by law enforcement. The investigation is active, led by the Pima County Sheriff's Department with FBI assistance. The identity of the masked individual on the doorbell footage, the man who came to that door more than once, has not been confirmed. Whether genetic genealogy has returned any matches from the glove DNA has not been publicly disclosed. Why the blue Honda CR-V remains in custody with no confirmed return date is unexplained. What the Guthrie family's February 7th Instagram message, "We received your message," was responding to has never been officially clarified. And whether any of the multiple ransom notes received by news outlets are considered credible by investigators remains unanswered. She is an 84-year-old woman who has lived in Arizona for more than 50 years, who went to church every Sunday, who waved goodbye from her front door on a January night and walked inside and has not been seen since. If you have any information, the Pima County 88 Crime Tip Line carries a reward of $102,500. The FBI Phoenix Tip Line carries a separate reward of $100,000. The Guthrie family has offered $1 million for information leading to Nancy's return or recovery. We will follow updates as they are officially confirmed. The FBI has confirmed this suspect visited Nancy Guthrie's home more than once before the night she disappeared. Investigators requested a full month of neighborhood footage going back to January 1st. Someone on that street or on that route may be holding video right now that they do not know is significant. That question has not been officially answered. Neither has the most important one. Where is Nancy Guthrie right now?